That's the problem. What is Star Wars itself without ILM, without Skywalker Sound, without...
Just so long as Kathleen gets wind of it and knows what's coming if she doesn't leave.
We're going to have Chris Gore here Wednesday for the live show for his first interview that he'll be doing about his Star Wars might be for sale rumor that he broke the other day. So he'll be hopping aboard Wednesday evening for that live show. Make sure you guys are here for that one.
Who would they sell it to? Just spitballing. Who would they sell it to?
I think that's part of the problem. If what Chris has heard is correct, and we're going to talk more about this Wednesday, I'm hoping that by Wednesday, and Chris obviously is hoping that by the time he and I sit down and we do our discussion Wednesday, that he's got maybe some more information, maybe some corroborating information that indeed that the feelers are being put out. But I mean, when you say who would you sell it to, there's a number of potential suitors out there. The question is, would any of them be amenable to ponying up for what I imagine is a ridiculous price that Disney is asking for?
I mean, what would they be asking for it? Like more than it's weird because I think of it as being devalued now. I don't think of it as being worth the $4 billion they paid for.
Oh, it's not. Well, the part of what I'm going to talk about, Chris, and I guess we'll get into a little bit of this now before we swing back into the box office stuff. But I think that there are two possibilities, and I've talked about this, and Chris brought this up as well. I've talked with him about this, and we'll talk more about this Wednesday. But the question is, what are the feelers? Is Disney putting out a general sense of, hey, anybody interested? Or is there something specific out there with a dollar value and some particulars involved? So, for example, Brett, do I think that the Walt Disney Company is necessarily interested in liquidating or selling or spinning off everything that they acquired under that deal? No. Initially, I'd say no. There's no reason, in my estimation, for Disney to want to part ways with what I firmly believe are fairly lucrative, profitable, good cash flow generating things like Industrial Lights and Magic and Skywalker Sound. That was all part of that purchase, right? Disney doesn't have to part ways with that because not only is it a huge help for Disney internally because they can farm out a lot of their post-production and VFX work and sound work to one of its own entities, not only based here in the U.S., but the reason why they also have Lucasfilm offices in places like the UK is because they can take advantage of very lucrative tax credits from the UK by farming business to one of their own subsidiaries that operate there with British labor. That's a tax credit eligible type expenditure for a production. Now, if Disney is talking about potentially, hey, we'll sell the rights to future endeavors. That's the cleanest, easiest thing for Disney to do. If Disney wants to sell the rights to, here's Star Wars, you now get to go do whatever you want with Star Wars. You can make movies, you can make TV shows, but you don't get what we already made. Like, we're going to retain the rights. First of all, Disney would ostensibly retain theme park rights because that's the part that everybody misses. They think about the movies they made. They think about the television shows they've made. Honestly, that's the easiest hurdle to climb. The most difficult one to climb is the fact that they're so physically integrated to the tune of $2 to $3 billion of physical real property in Disneyland and Orlando Disney World, not to mention a $500 million failed hotel that went bankrupt after less than a year. That is so integrated into Disney that I think any Disney deal along that line, if it were to ever happen, if this rumor that Chris heard is actually true, okay, and again, we're just discussing what Chris heard. That's it. This is all academic.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that any deal that would be made would probably involve Disney retaining theme park rights in the continental United States for something like 100 years as part of the deal. So to your point, Brett, the reason I had to bring all of that up, all those little different factors, is because that's the problem. What is Star Wars itself without ILM, without Skywalker Sound, without throwing Indiana Jones, without the stuff that Disney's already done, without theme park rights in the U.S., what is that worth at this point, right? What about merchandising rights? All of that plays into a factor, and we know that Star Wars merchandising rights are basically, it's a poop farm apart from Lego.
Yeah.
Because anybody can walk down Walmart or Target aisles right now to the Lego aisles, and they're stuffed with classic, and I mean George Lucas classic Star Wars Lego sets. Those still sell, but really not much else.
So the idea is that it's not Lucasfilm as a whole; it's Star Wars as a property. And
we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they would sell. I don't think they would sell Lucasfilm for. I mean, they really need Lucasfilm in terms of what we talked about before, ILM and Skywalker. But here's a little Tim Duncan bank shot for you. What if it's not real? And I don't mean it's not real in terms of Chris Gore got bad info. I'm just saying that if you're Disney and you want to expedite the exit of one Kathleen Kennedy, you might go to Netflix and say, hey, how about we sell the rights to streaming for Star Wars? You go make a couple Star Wars shows, but then after a year, we get them on Disney Plus. That might put pressure then on Kathleen. You don't even have to do the deal. Just so long as Kathleen gets wind of it and knows what's coming if she doesn't leave.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.